Poetry has always been something that is very important to me. Um, I've always loved to read. I've always loved writing creatively, papers, and I love writing essays. But I could just never figure out what I needed to write poetry. That being said, it doesn't change the fact that I love analyzing and even just reading on the outside poetry. My favorite poet of all time has got to be Edgar Allan Poe, for a few reasons. But the main one is that I feel like I can relate to him in some of the ways that he had to live his life. He was a very depressed man, and I can relate to that. And I have been able to relate to that since I started reading Poe. And I think his writing was there for me at a time that I feel like I really needed it. But also because Poe is just a very interesting man. I've written several papers and done several final projects on Edgar Allan Poe himself. But I've never really looked at all of his work. Looking into this project, I knew that I was going to do a poem by Poe, but I didn't know exactly which one until I looked at Annabel Lee. I've always loved Annabel Lee, but I think that I relate to it a lot more now because I am just a young girl in love, and everyone who is in young love thinks the way that Poe does in Annabel Lee. But also, it's still as dark as Poe normally writes, but in a different way. In this sense, the woman that he loves is taken from him, but no matter what, he will always love her. And I think that is what is important to me and why I chose this poem. It's a love poem, but it's definitely got Edgar Allan Poe's spin on it, because this is obviously something that he really cared about. And I think that it's one of those things that wasn't shadowed by his depression and his drinking. And he was able to write this before taking that horrible turn, and he was able to remember it in the way that he would want to. So, now I present to you Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. She was a child and I was a child in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee. With a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my Annabel Lee. So that her highborn kinsmen came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of a cloud, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I see the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the side of the sea. Thank you for listening.